gotta be at work later on today, but I definitely want to talk about, versus the others. Tank, um, me myself, I was impressed with what Tank did. He let the fight come to him. He didn't try to rush any. He was, um, you know, efficient, and he was defensive responsible as well as offensively responsible. He didn't go in there and go bombs away like people thought he would, but he did what he needed to do. He waited for the perfect shot and he got it off, and he finished Rolly. Now, as far as Rolly saying that he felt the fight was premature, well, it was stopped premature. Well, that's his opinion. And he says he wants a rematch. He's saying that he exposed Take. Mm, I wouldn't go as far as to say that he did that, but for the most part, Rolly, like I said, he was more disciplined than I thought he would be, because I thought he would just strictly go in there and get reckless. But the fight went how I thought it would go. For the most part, I thought Rolly would eventually get hit with the uppercut from hell, but he basically got caught coming in, and he paid dearly for it. Now the memes are coming out and all that kind of stuff. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna talk about the fight and leave it at that. Tank got a stoppage over Rolly. So now Tank moves on. You know, um, I was impressed with what I saw, and like I said before, I have Tank in the pound for pound discussion, and he deserves to be there. Like I said before, I'm not gonna argue with people about who is Tank fault and all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna even entertain the thought of that. And you can come with your you don't know nothing about boxing and all that stuff. That don't bother me one bit. I must know something about boxing because you come on here. You know, I get it. If I say something about your favorite fighter, I don't know nothing about boxing. So, I'm okay with that. Doesn't bother me one bit, because I'm gonna continue to say what I want to say and what needs to be said. At the end of the day, I'm doing this by myself. Like I said, I don't have the backing from nobody. Real talk. I'm self-sufficient, self-reliant, and self-dependent of one, which is me, team of me. Real talk. So, um, with that being said, um, I asked the question, what's next for Tank? Ryan Garcia was there in attendance, and like I said, Ryan Garcia, he is in no position to call no shots, and his credibility is completely out of the window because he's known for pulling out of fights. Okay, he's known for pulling out of fights. So there's no reason to get excited about a possible. It's no reason to get excited about a possible Garcia versus Tank Davis fight. Yeah, yeah, El Chivo. That's what I believe is up next. Is Ryan Garcia, Isaac Cruz too. Let's just let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. It's just an easier fight to make. Cruz has affiliation with the PBC. He's attached to the PBC, so it's an easier fight to make, and it's a sellable fight because a lot of people thought that Cruz won the first fight. So it's a sellable fight. It's a storyline. You got to understand, when it comes to boxing, they want to have a storyline, basically trying to promote the fight. So it's a storyline, you know. So more than likely that is going to be Tank's next fight. As far as Tank versus the other guys go, of course I would love to see him versus Teofimo Lopez, or Ryan Garcia, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, those type of guys. But let's just face the fact, those guys are on the mythical other side of the street. Okay, so you have to ask that question. You've heard Floyd say he's not going to help make another promotional company great by, letting Tank fight on other networks, or fight or do joint promotions with other promotional companies to make fights, what I think is absolutely absurd. This is why I get in trouble with a lot of these promoters and these PR people, why sometimes I have trouble getting credentialed for fights or certain fights, because I don't say what they expect me to say. And I have to call BS on this. The best should be fighting the best, and there should be some common ground to where we can get these fights made. You didn't have to go through all this, you know what I'm saying, baloney to get fights made in the 80s and the early 90s, where promotional companies worked with each other and they did it to try to give the fans what they want. We want to see certain fights. We are tired of hearing about this. Oh, well, this guy fight on this network and he promoted by this dude. Can we get it done? Oh, appreciate the donation, man. Appreciate the donation. So I'm just one of them dudes. I'm just getting tired of hearing this. I've been tired of hearing this. Like I said before, I got tired of hearing that other side of the street stuff with Errol Spence. And I'm gonna keep saying this. A lot of people got mad at me because I wouldn't, be an Errol Spence apologist. And I just want to tell y'all, I'm gonna continue not to be it. And I'm gonna say this once again. I'm gonna continue to say what need to be said. I don't give a rat's ass if you like what I have to say or not. Because, like I say, nobody can't punk me or bully me or intimidate me to saying what they want me to say about a certain fighter. As I said before, if you don't like what I have to say, you can go to hell. Real talk. But this is why I fall out of favor with certain fighters. This is why sometimes they put the word out on me. This is why sometimes they don't want to talk to me. But it is what it is. I'm okay with that. For every one fighter that won't talk to me, it's always going to be three that's willing to talk to me. Well, I guess Jim Gray is like trying to do his job, but boxing has become very political, and that's the problem. You know, um, you heard the interview with Steven Espinosa, like a month ago. With after I got through watching Errol Spence versus um Ugas, what he told me. Now there's some things going on behind the scenes with the big fight. Uh, Still hope for that fight. Still, but it's still some it's still some stuff that got to be worked out. But I think it's still gonna happen. I think the odds of it happening is better now than it ever was. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. But let me talk about Tank. If the politics was to disappear, how I see Tank versus some of the other guys. Like I said, there's a lot of fights out there for Tank, including Cruz. Rematch with Cruz. Tiafimo Lopez, if he decides to go up to 140. Vasily Lomachenko, Devin Haney, um, Ryan Garcia. It's a lot of fights out there for Tank. And as I said before, who do I favor in those fights? For the most part, you probably would favor Tank in all those fights just because of his power alone. Now it's been proved that Tank could be, he could be outboxed, but he will always have his power. Tank could land a big shot at any time and turn the fight around. Tank has been proven all he needs is one or two shots and he could turn the fight around, or he could actually end the fight. You gotta ask yourself, and you gotta really look at Tank. Tank is special. Tank can afford to lose, you know, like most of the first most of the first half of the fight, and then all of a sudden he could just turn it on and he could just land a shot. He could perfectly time you land a shot and turn the fight around. So like I said before, I felt like Tank's performance to well last night at least put him in that top 10 pound for pound discussion, the mythical top 10 pound for pound discussion. I think he's earned it. And then another thing, Tank has proved that he could put bodies in the seats. This man had 18,000 people come see him. He was the headliner. And nobody can sit up there and say, "Oh man, it was the undercard." That undercard was to say the least, it was pedestrian. And I'm being nice by saying that undercard was pedestrian. Nah, they was there to see Tank. And it shows the drawing power of Tank. And hopefully, Tank is getting paid well because he's proved that he's a commodity. So you would be hoping that due to the fact that he decided to stay with he's saying he's staying with Mayweather Promotions. That's good for him. As I said before, I'm not ever gonna tell a fighter what promotional company to go to. So that's my thing. I'm not gonna ever tell a dude what promotional company to go to. That's just not my job. Yeah, Tank got a that's what I'm trying to tell you. Tank got a lot of options out there. But after a while, you want to see Tank versus other guys. Can we stop making it look like it's just so far fetched and just so out of reach to where we can't get Tank to fight guys that's not affiliated with the PBC? It comes down to everybody. It comes down to Matchroom. If they have somebody that they can set Tank up with to fight, uh Top Rank seem to have a lot of the guys that Tank need to fight. They have at least they have at least three or four of them. I mean, I'm talking about Tiafimo Lopez, Devin Haney, um, Shakur Stevenson. So, that's three right there. Then eventually, as Keyshawn Davis climbs up the ladder, you got to think about Keyshawn Davis. Then depending on how well Duke Reagan does, then there's also the possibility of Duke Reagan. So it's a lot of fights out there for Tank, and it's a lot of money out there. But it's gonna come down at the end of the day. We got to stop being fans of fighters and promoters and promotional companies. As fans, as media, we got to demand that these fights get made. We want to see Tank versus those guys. We want the politics or the politics to disappear. We want those fights. At this point, do we really care whether Tank wins all of those fights? We just want to see Tank versus the best guys out there, Tank fighting and maximizing the best fights and making the most money possible. There's millions of dollars out there that Tank is missing out on if he doesn't fight those kind of guys. Because at the end of the day, the object of the sport, if you're a boxer, is to fight the best guys out there and make the most money as possible. So that's what Tank has to do. Tank has to tell these promoters. He has to say, "Look, Floyd. Look, Leonard. Look, Al. You're gonna have to start like making these fights. You guys are gonna have to find a way to make these fights happen. You're gonna have to try to work. Showtime is gonna have to work with ESPN or whatever's going on. You could have a bit. You know what I'm saying? You could have a purse bid. You know, you could have a purse bid. You could be like, okay, well, ESPN, how much money you willing to put up for the fight to have broadcasting rights or telecast rights or go to Fox? Like I said, at the end of the day, these fights can be made. They're not so out of reach to where they can't be made, but at the end of the day, I'm one of the only few media that had the guts to say, hey man, let's get these fights made. Because a lot of the bigger channels, they're not going to call these promotional companies out and say, hey, let's get the best fights made, because they scared about losing credentials. They scared about certain fighters not talking to them. That's what they afraid of. And yeah, I'm talking to them. I'm calling them out. I ain't got to say no names because you know who they are. And if y'all got a problem with me saying this, then that's too damn bad. I'm not worried about y'all neither. because y'all playing a role in this too, and y'all part of the problem. Like I said before, I'm not gonna sit up here and play promotional company protector. Okay, all these promotional companies need to be getting involved trying to make these fights. Everybody need to play their part. Everybody need to participate. Whatever happened in the past, put it to the put it to the side, and let's get the fans and you know what I'm saying, the best fights out there to be made. Let's find some common ground. Real talk. Well, boxing fan, you just proved my point. When I mean, would you get excited if you fighting somebody named Selecki? I mean, can we just real? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, no, I'm just gonna keep it 100. Nobody don't care about Charlo fighting Selecki. Arthur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr. is gonna be a far better fight, and that's just the bottom line. Unfortunately, it's gonna be two white fighters fighting that same night that Charlo fights on June the 18th. But I'm sorry, the fight between the two white guys is gonna be a better fight. Nobody cares about Selecki. Nobody does. I'm just telling the truth. And I ain't even saying this because I'm not saying this just because I'm getting credential for that fight. I'm saying this because it's the honest to God truth. I haven't been impressed with Jamal's last four opponents, and that's being nice. With the exception of um damn, what is that guy's name? The guy that fought that gave Triple G all he can handle and gave that fight, you know. So I haven't been really that impressed. I'm just keeping it a buck. And that is true. Sometimes when you a boxer and you not fighting the best guys out there, you don't get up for certain fights because you know this is not a guy that you really interested in fighting, but you fighting to stay active and also to provide for your family. But you're not getting the best fights. So sometimes these fighters don't get motivated for certain fights. That's why sometimes they, you know what I'm saying, have an off night because they're not really excited about certain fights. I think that has happened to Crawford a couple of times. I don't think he was that motivated by fighting the Mean Machine, you know? And as far as his performance versus Sean Porter, him and Sean Porter are good friends. And I think he didn't really want to like lay it on Sean like he could have. So I'm just saying that's just how boxing works. It's up to us, man, for real, the fans to start demanding that these fights get made. Stop listening to some of these YouTubers that have agenda where they want to just sit up there and cape and play Captain Saber promoter for certain promoters, certain PR people, so they can continue to get they credentials. If you gonna deny me credentials and all that stuff because I'm trying to tell the truth and I'm trying to get the truth out to the fans, then so be it. Then maybe I don't need them. But I'm gonna continue to say that's just I'm just keeping it 100. Everybody is playing a role in this stuff, you know. And then you have guys out there that have a lot of followers and have a big following, and they have this thing where, hey, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to make anybody upset, so I'm gonna just keep doing what I do. To a certain degree, I understand that, but then I feel like if you have a bigger platform, you can at least say, hey, can we just get the fights made that we need to get made? At the end of the day, um, if these, like I said, if these promoters get mad at you for asking them a legitimate question, then like I said, you ain't the problem, they the problem. But yeah, like I said, as far as Tank go, there's a lot of opportunity for Tank out there. Like I said, for the most part, probably in all likelihood, I probably would favor Tank, if not against most of those fighters that I named, probably all of them. Now, to the fighters that's listening, don't take offense to this. Just giving my opinion. Not saying that you can't beat him. I'm just saying based off certain things that I saw, Tank might would be the favorite in all those fights. Just keeping it real. But anyway, thanks for listening. It's your boy Town Biz. I'm out.